I just did this whole review and then my SD card decided it didn't want to work anymore. Okay, we're doing Jon's 3rd chapter, Ned's 4th chapter, and Tyrion's 3rd chapter. So Jon is over at the wall. The scene opens with him fighting one of the other guys, Grin. He doesn't move and slaps Grin's wrists, and Grin complains that he thinks he broke it. Jon is standing there leaning on his longsword, and Sir Alistair yells at him and says, like, is that a cane? Can you not walk? And Jon's like, I'm tired, and Sir Alistair gets all over him. Thorne is just a jackass. He's walking towards the armory, and he thinks about how cold it is, and there's a line that says, in a few years he's going to forget what the feeling of being warm was like at all. That sucks. Jon is all sullen. He's thinking about Benjen, who hasn't come back from his scout range yet. When they first got there, Benjen was there for 3 days and then he had to leave. Jon tried to go with them and he was like, dude, no, you just got here. You have stuff you have to learn before you can go. Jon, of course, doesn't listen because he thinks he can just do everything. So he wakes up the next morning to try to leave with Benjen again, and Benjen's like, dude, no, I told you, you can't go. What the fuck? Jon's all mad about it. He goes to the armory. Grin and 4 other guys, 3 other guys, try to jump him, and the armory master comes in. I thought it was interesting in the book they gave this part to Tyrion. I mean, he is there, so why wouldn't they? And the armory guy, doesn't really matter. But the armory guy comes in and breaks everything up and tells Jon to stay behind, and he tells him basically, dude, these guys are just regular bastard kids of regular people. They aren't lords. They don't have swords. They probably never even had one before they got here. They weren't trained by some knight, so chill the fuck out. And then Jon starts to feel bad once he starts thinking about it, but he's all gruff and sullen about it. During this conversation, we learned that the armory guy's name is Donald Noy. Yeah, we'll just call that, I don't remember. And Jon says that he is the one that probably forged Robert's hammer, the one that killed Rhaegar Targaryen, which sucks. He's talking to the guy who made the weapon who killed his dad. But Noy tells him, listen, life's short. You keep going on this way. Your brothers are either going to save your life or going to slit your throat. So, like, chill the fuck out. He runs into Tyrion on the way out of the armory. They have a conversation. Tyrion mentions that it's, like, mealtime, so they go down to the lunchroom, basically, to have some food and some stew. Tyrion asks him where he's sleeping, and he mentions some abandoned rooms that no one else is staying in, so he can stay there with his wolf because everyone else is scared of ghosts. And they're like, Tyrion's like, yeah, they're wise men. It's a big ass dog. And we know that Jon likes to be by himself. Thorne walks over and tells him that the Lord Commander wants to see him, that he has a raven. There's this whole back and forth between him and Thorne and Tyrion, and he finally runs to see the commander and learns that Bran is alive and has not died. I thought it was interesting that there's a crow in the corner, and the crow starts saying, corn, corn, corn. And then later on, Jon says, my brother's going to live, and the crow says, live, live, live. I thought it was, like, because we know the story of the corn and everything. There's just a callback to who Brandon was, like, maybe this crow knows. Anyway, Jon feels a lot better now. He's in much better mood. He goes back to the lunchroom, whatever it's called, lifts up Tyrion, spins him around. Everyone's all curious, and he tells him that his brother's going to live. He looks over to the guy whose wrist that he hurt. He's like, oh, I'm sorry I did that to you. If you want, I can show you how to fend that off next time. And he's basically, like, he's in a better mood now that he has learned Bran is going to live. And now he understands these guys are just regular people, and they don't like him because he acts like he's everybody else. He might be better than everybody else, but he acts like it. Thorne overhears him offering to help Gren, and he's like, Lord Snow thinks he's me now. I have an easier time seeing his direwolf juggle. And Jon's like, I'll take you up on that wager, sir. And Thorne does not like that. So Jon said it funnier, but I'm just, summarizing this for you. A lot of other stuff happens in this too, but I mean, read the book. I liked it in this chapter that they call him Lord Snow because Thorne gives names to all the new people, whatever, and he basically has a way to demean them. And Tyrion's like, weird as armor. Haven't we had this conversation before? Like, you're a bastard? Say you're a bastard so people can't use it against you. They call you Lord Snow? Own that shit. Jon's apparently very slow at learning at some things. He was very, like, gruffy this paragraph, or this chapter, and it reminded me of Shojan, and I was like, oh. FYI, this video is going up late tonight, not only because my SD card messed up, but because I'm re-filming this part. A lot happened in this chapter, and the more I think about it, the more, it's nothing really big, but there's a lot of people. Basically, Ned comes to King's Landing. He gets there. The council is there waiting for him because Robert said that they need to go ahead and have a meeting. Ned's all kind of irritated by it because he's been traveling for like a month and he's ready to get the freak out of those clothes, and he's in like borrowed clothes and it's gross and he's just whatever. So he goes there. It's Varys, who we know. I love Varys personally, but he doesn't know him, so he doesn't trust him at first. And then Renly, who's there in his like green cloak or whatever, dressed all pretty. And then Littlefinger, who we know is a slime ball. And then Maester Pycelle. Now, I never really thought much about Maester Pycelle. He's just the creepy old man, but I feel like he's been Maester at King's Landing for so long that he's kind of just there for attention and notoriety. Because, you know, remember in the show, like, we know he moves all slow and decrepit on the show, but he can actually move faster. Like, is that just for attention so people take him more seriously because he's so old? Like, he kind of confuses me, actually. Anyway, Littlefinger's there. He greets Ned. And Ned's like, I understand you knew my brother, Brandon. If we remember, Littlefinger is the one who challenged Brandon to the fight over Catelyn, like, and lost. And Littlefinger's like, yeah, I still have his sentiments, like, because he has a scar. Anyway, they sit down, they talk. And Ned realizes he's surrounded by fools. Like he literally says, I am surrounded by flatterers and fools. And they begin talking about Robert's order that there should be a tournament to celebrate the new hand. Robert isn't even there. He never goes to the council meeting. He leaves those things up to the council because he doesn't want to have to worry about the coins. Like, he doesn't want to have to worry about the money. He wants to say you do something and then they just do it. And Ned learns that they are like 6 million, was it stallions, whatever, in debt. They owe $3 million to friggin' the Lannisters. He's like, what the hell? How'd you allow this to happen? And he's like, they're like, Robert just says to do things and we have to do it. That's it. And Ned's kind of disgusted, which he should be. Ned's annoyed by this. He leaves. He's like, I gotta go to bed. So he leaves the meeting and he's thinking about Robert. He's like, Robert's been barely seen since the incident on the road. You know he's just embarrassed. He lets Cersei run over him and basically tell him what to do, and it's unbecoming of a king, I guess. But he's just over that whole bullshit, you know? He's hanging around, Littlefinger is there, and he's like, I know where your wife is, she's here, she needs to see you, you need to follow me. And he doesn't believe Littlefinger, but he has to go because if it's true, he can't just leave her there with Littlefinger. So he follows him. Littlefinger throws in a few quips here and there. I actually like the book version of Littlefinger. I don't like him. You can tell he's an ass still, but he's very funny. They get to the brothel where Littlefinger owns, where Catelyn is waiting, and Ned's like, what the hell, a brothel? And he's pretty much about to pummel Littlefinger to death. And Sir Roderick runs up behind him like, no, sir, he's telling the truth. And Ned turns around like, what the heck? Sir Roderick, what are you doing? He's like, no, Catelyn's waiting inside. And Littlefinger says, you know, maybe you should be a little more inconspicuous. Maybe fawn a little breast or two on the way in so nobody knows who you are. And then he goes in, he sees Catelyn, and she wraps her arms around him, and he's like, my lady, and Littlefinger goes, oh good, you recognize her. They have their greetings, and Cat finally asks about the girls for once, and since we've known her, she's shown some kind of concern. Ned's like, what the heck are you doing here? Cat's like, be quiet, I'm gonna tell you if you just hold on a second. She tells him the whole story, and Ned can't help but think back to when Jon Snow found the pups, and he was like, Bran's direwolf saved him, and Jon said these pups were meant to go to your children. And he can't help but think of the fact that he killed Lady, and he feels so upset because he's like, what the heck have I done? If the gods had sent these for my kids and I've just killed Sansa's, which is kind of true. I didn't think about it, but you know, Jon's at the wall, Bran is fallen, but his direwolf saved him. We know Robb's helped him out in war. Arya's accompanied her and helped her with Joffrey. Then it ran off. So the girls are like without theirs. Anyway, they start talking about the dagger, and I was like, why would Tyrion Lannister want Bran dead? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Littlefinger's like, duh, he wouldn't have acted by himself, but of course it doesn't make any sense. Then he starts thinking about Rhaegar Targaryen and how his kids were murdered, and how Robert had turned away just like he had done when, you know, they had the whole incident on the road. And then he brings up His sister, again, he said he could still hear Sansa pleading for her dog, as Lyanna had pleaded once for her baby. The fact that he even put that in a sentence, like he heard Sansa pleading the way Lyanna, like he's telling us this woman was pleading for her baby. Like, anyway. Littlefinger points out most likely the king didn't know, blah, blah, blah. They just have this whole back and forth. Littlefinger tells them to just throw the knife in the river and forget about the whole thing. And Ned's like, my son is crippled and laying in bed and he was only saved by his direwolf. If you think I'm gonna forget about this, you're motherfucking crazy. And Littlefinger's like, I might be crazy, but I'm still here, bitch. Catelyn tells Ned that she has told Littlefinger about the suspicions around Aaron's death. And he's like, what is wrong with you? He's like, he wishes that she hadn't done that. Duh, why would you do that? Mind you, he already knows. But, what, Catelyn, she just said that the man was clever but not wise. Like, she knows him and she knows how he is. Why would you entrust him with that? I guess she's trying to get all the help she can, but I don't know. Ned tells Catelyn to go home. Littlefinger concurs because, you know, there are eyes everywhere. And he leaves the room. Then Ned turns around and is like, listen, okay, I want you to go home, but I want you to send troops and bowmen over to Moat Cailin. I want you to send people to the White Castle to fortify it. Make sure you keep your eye on that damn Theon Greyjoy, because if something happens and goes down, we need the fleet from his family. We need to get prepared before, because someone just tried to kill his son. Lord Arryn was probably poisoned. He just met the council. He doesn't trust anyone, and especially the Lannisters. Once, if I find out the truth about all of this and I go to Robert, there's going to be a war. And we need to fortify the north because we can't have shit going down up there. And then he expresses his concern, like, once he knows the truth and he shares it with Robert, he prays that he's the man that he was and not the man that he seems to have become, which sucks. I just thought it was interesting that Ned did have the presence of mind to be like, because we knew he sent people to Moat Cailin and stuff in the story, but in the show, but in the book it's much more like he was like, listen, we gotta get stuff done. I can appreciate that about him. He wasn't quite as like trusting as he seemed in the book. I mean, in the show. He's sitting in the hall, food hall, whatever, eating with everybody and throwing quips at Sir Thorne, and Alicent does not like it. He gets up and he like skulks off and Tyrion says something that makes everybody laugh. It's funny. They're eating crab. They have like the best food in this story. You can tell that like everybody's enjoying him being there. Lord Commander's talking to him and they're just having a really good back and forth about everything. And then we learned that Sir Alistair Thorne and Sir Jeremy Riker were both fighting, I guess, on the other side. They were fighting for the Targaryens, and when Tywin came in, he ordered all those men to either be beheaded or join the Night's Watch. So that's how Thorne and this guy got there. Again, Tyrion's like saying funny stuff, and Master Aemon speaks up, who's like very quiet, so the room gets really quiet to listen to what he says, and he basically calls Tyrion a giant, and Tyrion's like, I've been called a lot of things in my life, but I've never been called a giant, and you're too kind. And Master Aemon's like, I've been called a lot of things, I've never been called kind. Later on, Mormont and Tyrion are having a conversation. Mormont is letting him know, listen, I need a favor from you. I need you to tell the king and queen, like, let the council know we need help here. I only have enough men to have like 3 men per mile of the wall if something goes down. You need to send them here because if we were to get attacked, we can't defend ourselves. And winter's coming, basically. He says, like, this is the longest summer they've had. It's been going on for 9 years. And following a long summer, there's always a long winter. So they need to make sure they're prepared for that. And with the men they have, that's not going to happen. Some of the wildlings from the north are also crossing the wall at some point to get away from something on the other side of the wall. And he's like, those people see everything. If they're scared and they're crossing the wall to get away from something, we need to be prepared because we don't know what the heck that is. It's probably the others. And Tyrion thinks he's basically nuts, but Lord Mom is like, promise me that you're going to do this. So that's the end of that conversation. Tyrion leaves to go to his room. It's very, very cold, and for some reason he's caught up with the need to go like see the wall and look at the edge of it one more time. He goes up, it's very cold, sees some guards, they make fun of him for being short. He finds Jon, they take a walk, and they have a really nice conversation. Jon sends a few messages with Tyrion. He tells Robb that basically he's going to be Lord Commander and that he needs to just melt down his sword because he'll have nothing to do. Because Jon's going to be doing all the work, so he needs to learn how to like sew or knit or something, which is funny. He's like, tell Rickon that, you know, try to make it easy for him and tell him that he can have all my things until I return if he wants, which is so nice. Like, oh. And then Bran, is there something you can tell him to help him feel better? And he's like, I'm not a maester. What do you want me to tell him? He's like, well, you help me feel better. Talk to him. Give him your words and help him feel better. And he's like, okay. And they have this nice little moment, and Jon takes off his glove to shake his hand, and he's like, friends. And Tyrion's like, I've met plenty of bastards along our way. I've never had a friend before. That's just so stupid. And they start talking about Benjen again, how he's gone, and he was supposed to be back by Jon's birthday, and he has not come back. And they hear a wolf howling in the distance, and Jon's like, you know, if he doesn't come back soon, I'll take Ghost and I'll go find him myself. And Tyrion's like, yeah, but who's gonna find you? Like, he thinks it anyway. So he's worried about him. Because he knows Jon is gonna go do it, and he's like, you probably won't come back. So the next ones we're gonna read are Arya 2, Daenerys 3, and Bran 4. Alright, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.